Masaki had broken the unspoken rule by bringing his sister Yui to the tea ceremony. He didn't know the tempest he'd invited.
I can't believe you've been keeping this class a secret. The room alone is breathtaking.
But the soft whisper of silk-soled feet on wood killed the chatter. Chinatsu was near. The shoji slid aside, and there she stood, a figure carved from winter. Her eyes swept the room.
Only you may watch. The class will not proceed with another present. This is not a request.
Another present? She never mentioned this rule. What am I supposed to tell Yui?
You can't just throw me out. I came all this way. This is so unfair.
Chinatsu said nothing. She simply knelt and began placing each utensil back into its box with ritualistic finality. The tea whisk lay alone in the bowl. The ceremony aborted before it could begin. The silence was deafening. Masaki remained on the mat, staring at the closed shoji. One question echoed. Why only him? And what was worth such solitude? 3 months earlier, the question wasn't even a whisper. Masaki was just another student chasing a cultural elective. A poster on the bulletin board caught his eye. Tea ceremony. Discover stillness in a cup. It seemed like an easy credit.
Tea ceremony? Grandma used to talk about it. Might be interesting to see what the fuss is about.
He slid open the classroom door, and the scent of tatami and charcoal greeted him. The room was full. 15 other students had chosen the same path.
So many people. Guess I am not the only one curious. Wait, is that the teacher?
Chinatsu knelt at the center, her spine a bamboo stalk, every fold of her kimono deliberate. When she spoke, the room stilled.
A bowl of tea is not a beverage. It is a handshake between souls. Observe the silence between movements.
She poured water with a sound like a distant stream, and for a moment, even the cynics forgot to breathe. Masaki felt something shift.
This isn't just pouring water. She's telling a story with every turn of the whisk. I want to understand it.
As the sun slanted through the shoji, the first lesson ended. Masaki left with a strange hunger, not for tea, but for the ritual that had hooked him. The second Wednesday brought a change. 3 seats sat empty. By the 3rd week, half the class had vanished. Each absent student received a letter. Unfortunately, the class is at capacity. Your enrollment has been respectfully withdrawn.
That's strange. The class was never full to begin with. Maybe the elective just isn't popular?
But the notices kept slipping under doors, polite and identical. Each week, Chinatsu would kneel before a dwindled audience.
Now, there's only 5 of us. Chinatsu doesn't even blink. Maybe this is just coincidence, right?
Today we will refine the whisking rhythm. Pay attention to the sound. It must be one continuous note.
The following Wednesday, Masaki found himself alone on the tatami. The tea whisk stood solitary in an empty room. He later heard that even those who tried to re-enroll received the same cold letter. The class was shrinking by design.
Sensei, am I the only student left? What happened to everyone else?
The class continues as planned. Please focus on your whisking.
After the class, Masaki couldn't shake the pattern. He decided to test the rule, starting with a friend.
Hey, I just told you about the tea ceremony class. Try enrolling. See what happens.
2 days later, the answer arrived. His friend received the same polite dismissal.
So it's not random. She's filtering everyone. Then why am I the exception?
He needed an observer outside the system, a family member.
Yui, remember that class I mentioned? I want you to come watch. Just sit quietly and see.
A secret tea ceremony? Sounds mysterious. I'd love to come watch.
If she reacts to an observer like she did to new students, I'll get my answer.
That Wednesday, he led Yui to the tea room. The shoji awaited in silence. He couldn't know this test would unleash a storm and a forbidden truth.
What was that? She just threw us out like garbage, and you were just sitting there?
Yui, please, go home. I need to talk to her alone when she comes back. Trust me.
Yui stormed out, her footsteps fading into silence. Masaki was left alone in the tea room, waiting. Minutes passed like hours. Then, the shoji slid open. Chinatsu returned, her expression unreadable.
Why did you do that? You can't just reject everyone and refuse to explain. What is this class really about?
The rules are clear. Only you may watch. There is nothing to explain.
That's not an answer. I am the only student left. You are hiding something.
If you bring another observer, the class ends permanently. Choose.
End permanently? She's serious. But I still don't understand why.
The tea room felt colder. Masaki was a prisoner of a ritual he couldn't grasp, and silence was his only reply. Sleep abandoned him. Masaki spent the night in the library's dusty archives, chasing whispers of the tea ceremony underground.
There has to be a reason. A forbidden school, a disgraced lineage. Something she's protecting.
A 1945 newspaper headline surfaced. Konohara Tea School closes. Last master perishes without heir.
Konohara. Techniques that rivaled the great houses. Extinct after the war. Chinatsu's movements are too precise to be amateur.
He cross-searched her family name. Nothing. But the dates aligned. The school died, and a generation later, Chinatsu appeared. When he whispered the name Konohara, Chinatsu's hand froze over the tea scoop. A crack in her porcelain mask.
That name is not to be spoken. Drop this, Masaki.
You can't keep silencing me. If you are the heir to a dead school, why only me? What am I to you?
I will not explain. Continue the class or leave.
The tea room held its breath. Masaki had his clue, but the answer felt heavier than the silence. A childhood memory surfaced. His grandmother's voice, spinning tales of a secret tea tradition woven into their family.
Grandma always said our blood carried a tea bond. I thought it was just a bedtime story.
He returned to the family home, drawn to the altar where his lineage sat in quiet reverence. Behind the incense and photos, an old wooden box had gathered decades of dust and secrets. Inside lay a faded photograph, his great-grandfather in formal kimono, kneeling beside an unknown tea master.
This is my great-grandfather. But the woman beside him, her hands are shaped for a whisk.
The photo captured a private tea ceremony, the woman's sleeves bearing a crest he'd seen before, lost to time.
Could she be? No, that's impossible. But nothing about this class has been normal.
He pocketed the photograph, the paper heavy with a century's silence. His blood was no longer a coincidence. The answer now rested in his pocket, but it only deepened the silence he carried back to the tea room. He knelt and laid the photograph before her, a still image heavy with unspoken truth.
That photograph, where did you get it? It was supposed to be lost.
Answer me. Is this your grandmother? The Konohara school? It's not just a rumor, is it?
Yes, she was my grandmother, the last master of our lineage.
The admission fell like a stone into still water, rippling through decades of secrecy.
Then why the closed doors? Why reject everyone? Why only me?
I cannot teach publicly. The lineage is broken. Without a master's certification, I am nothing.
But you've been waiting for me. I am not just a random student, am I?
Please, just continue the class. Forget the rest. That is all I ask.
The tea room walls closed in. Masaki had more questions, but the silence was no longer empty. It was a fortress.
I can't stay. Every lesson I take is a door you've closed on someone else. This isn't fair.
If you leave, the school dies tonight. You are the only thread left.
She's clutching her sleeve like a lifeline. This goes deeper than I thought.
There is a ceremony, the Kuchikiri no Chaji. I will perform it for you. Just stay a little longer.
Kuchikiri? That's an imperial tradition. You'd risk teaching that to an outsider?
It is not teaching. It is an offering. I cannot give you answers, but I can show you our soul.
An imperial ceremony. She's breaking every rule she's set. For me?
After that, if you still want to leave, I will not stop you. Please, one last class.
Fine. One ceremony. But no more walls between us after that.
They set a date that felt like a sentence. And in the quiet, the tea room began to breathe again. Waiting, the ceremony approached. But Masaki's mind churned. He returned to the archives, hunting for the student who should have inherited the school. A buried memory drew him home. A box of documents his grandmother had left sealed. He knelt before the altar, pulling an old wooden box from behind the incense holder. Inside lay a hand-painted family tree. The ink faded, but the branches clear.
This line, "My great-grandfather," is circled. The note reads, "Successor to Konohara School."
To the first student, Takashi, the heart of Konohara is yours. Keep it until the tea can flow again. The photograph made sense now. His ancestor knelt beside the last master, not as a guest, but as the appointed heir.
She's been waiting for me, the legitimate descendant, the only one who can revive the lineage.
The tea room wasn't a classroom. It was a cage built from a century of silence. And he had just found the key. 3 days until the ceremony. The silence in the tea room had never felt so heavy or so personal. The day before the ceremony, Masaki could no longer carry the silence. He confronted her with the truth.
I found these in my grandmother's things. A family tree, and this, a promise to my great-grandfather. He was your grandmother's first student, wasn't he?
You found Takashi's pledge. I never thought it survived.
So it's true. He was meant to inherit the Konohara school. That's why you've been waiting for me. I am the successor's blood.
Yes, I am the 7th generation heir, but without a master's certification, I cannot teach. Until I saw your name on the roster, I knew you were the one. The only legitimate descendant. By teaching only you, I followed the last tradition she gave me. Revive the school through the bloodline. Please, Masaki, become the new master.
Master? She wants me to inherit everything. This isn't just a class. It's a legacy spanning a century.
The plea hung in the air, heavier than the incense. For the first time, Chinatsu's eyes held not cold distance, but desperate hope.
I don't know if I can. You're asking me to become something I never prepared for.
The tea room waited, the lantern light flickering as if the past itself was listening. Masaki left the tea room and found Yui waiting at home, her concern written in her furrowed brow.
Yui, I need to tell you what happened. That teacher, she's the heir of a dead tea school. And I am the great-grandson of the student who should have been master.
That's a lot, but Masaki, you've been drawn to this since Grandma's stories. Maybe it's not just chance.
She's right. The ritual, the silence, the tea. I've been wanting to understand it. Not out of guilt, but because it feels like home.
Then follow your heart. Not because you have to, but because you want to.
I want to. For my great-grandfather. For Chinatsu. For me.
He returned to the tea room the next evening, his steps steady. Chinatsu was there, waiting, as if made of stillness.
I'll undergo the ceremony. Not because you asked, but because I believe in what this school can become again.
Masaki, thank you.
The agreement settled between them, quieter than any vow. Tomorrow, the Kuchikiri no Chaji would begin. That night, the secret sessions began. Chinatsu unveiled movements the public had never seen, each gesture a password into the Konohara heart. Masaki's hands stumbled at first, but Chinatsu corrected his grip with a touch softer than the steam.
These rhythms are not memorized. They are inherited. Your blood already knows them.
She's right. The movements feel familiar, like a memory woven into my muscles.
Day after day, the tea room became their sanctuary. No students, no letters, only the dance of water and leaf.
I've guarded this school alone for so long. I forgot what it felt like to share it.
You don't have to be alone anymore. This legacy, it's ours now.
On the eve of the ceremony, the room was arranged with imperial precision. The charcoal brazier glowed like a heartbeat.
Tomorrow, I will perform the Kuchikiri for you. Whatever you decide after, I'll accept.
There is no after. This is the beginning. Is that all I am to you? Just the right bloodline to save your school?
That's not what I meant. Please, don't think that. I've been alone, guarding this dead school. And then you came. You didn't just study. You listened. I forgot that tea was meant to be shared. Somewhere along the way, I stopped caring only about the school and started caring about you.
So this isn't just about tradition. This is personal.
I am sorry. I lured you with ceremony, but I wanted you to stay for me.
Then I am staying, not because I have to, but because I want to be here with you.
Their hands found each other over the empty tea bowl. The future no longer a silence, but a promise. The night settled around them, gentle as the steam that would rise tomorrow at dawn. Decades earlier, a child named Chinatsu knelt beside a grandmother whose tea school was dying. Her grandmother's last lesson was a command: find the lost student's descendant. Only then could the school breathe again. Chinatsu swore an oath into the lonely tatami. The Konohara school would not end in that room. Years of solitary practice followed, every motion perfected in secret, awaiting a student who never came. She traced census records and university rosters. The name Takashi had scattered like dust until a certain spring. On a college enrollment list, a surname surfaced: Masaki, the great-grandson of the first student.
It was him. After 80 years, the circle could finally close.
She designed the class, sending rejection letters to all others, guarding the broken seal of her school. But each week, fear clenched harder, that he would leave, that she would fail her grandmother again. And so she spoke, trusting him with 100 years of silence, hoping the dawn would not burn it all away. Dawn broke over the tea room, and the first flame of the ceremony caught in the sunken hearth. Chinatsu entered in robes reserved for emperors, her face a mask of ritual calm. Masaki knelt at a distance, watching the charcoal ignite, as if the past itself was breathing. Each utensil, the silk cloth, the tea scoop, the water ladle, she purified with a grace that silenced thought. Her hands moved as though pulled by invisible threads, a language of water and leaf that had survived 80 years of darkness.
This isn't a performance. It's a conversation with ancestors I never met.
Chinatsu lifted the kettle, and the steam rose like a veil between worlds. Masaki held his breath, feeling his great-grandfather's absence and presence merge into the steam. The silence was not empty. It was filled with every master who had knelt on these mats, waiting for the bowl to be passed. The Kuchikiri no Chaji had begun, and nothing would be the same again. Each movement of Chinatsu's hands pulled him deeper into the current of the ceremony.
This isn't just tea, it's a bridge. Every soul who ever kneels here reaches across time.
The incense coiled with the steam, binding the room in a scent he would remember for the rest of his life.
I am not an outsider watching history, I am the history. It's my turn to hold the line.
A vow formed in the silence, stronger than any spoken word. He would protect this world.
Grandma's stories, my great-grandfather's dream, it all makes sense now. This is where I belong.
All doubt shed from him like a discarded husk. The ceremony was no longer something to witness, it was something to become.
I'm ready.
Chinatsu's hands moved toward the final preparation. The room tightened as if listening. The tea bowl glowed in the lantern light, waiting to cross the threshold between past and future. Then her hands were there, trembling, bearing the tea bowl like a sacred flame.
Masaki, in the name of the 7th generation, I pass the Konohara school to you. You are now its master.
The bowl passed between them, a century of silence, broken.
I accept. I'll carry this weight, not for duty, but because this is who I am.
He held the bowl as if cradling every ancestor who had waited. Chinatsu's tears fell freely now, washing away decades of solitude.
Grandmother, it's done. The school lives. I kept my promise.
Their hands found each other again over the bowl. No longer a teacher and student, but two halves of a lineage finally whole.
You are not alone, Chinatsu. This isn't just my school, it's ours.
And for the first time in 80 years, the tea room did not feel like a cage. It felt like home. As the steam settled, Chinatsu withdrew a scroll sealed with crimson wax, the master's certificate. The brush was still damp with Masaki's name, written in ink that had waited a lifetime to dry.
This document names you the 8th master of the Konohara school. Please accept it.
Raise your head, Chinatsu. I'll only accept if you promise to keep teaching beside me.
He took her hands, the scroll now a bridge between their palms.
But I only followed an old command. You are the one who chose to stay.
I stayed because you turned this room into a home. That is your legacy, too.
The tea room, silent for a century, now echoed with the quiet certainty of two people who belonged.
Then, let us teach together. The school needs both our hands to fully revive.
Masaki nodded, and for the first time, the silence between them was not a wall but a foundation. Masaki broke the gentle silence, his voice carrying a new resolve.
The school shouldn't stay locked behind these walls. We should teach openly, a small class for beginners.
But tradition forbids public teaching without certification, though you are the master now.
You'll be right there with me. We'll adapt the forms. This is our tradition to share.
Outside the window, cherry blossoms fell, a sign of renewal brushing against the glass.
Grandmother only taught in the shadows. She would have wanted the world to see.
Then, let's honor her wish. Together, we'll rebuild what was broken.
They knelt and began sketching a new roster. No rejection letters, only an open door.
Next Wednesday, then. The first public class of the revived Konohara school.
The future glowed with the same warm light that had lit the ceremony, and it was enough. A week later, the tea room welcomed its first guest, Yui, seated where Chinatsu once knelt as a solitary teacher. Masaki's hands were steady as he poured the steaming water, each motion a quiet echo of the ceremony that had bound him.
This is not just tea. I can feel the weight of it.
It carries our family, our history, and a promise that almost died.
Chinatsu watched from the far corner, her hands folded in her lap, a proud smile softening the sharp lines of her face. For a long moment, the only sound was the quiet melody of tea being shared.
You've become exactly the master she dreamed of.
I am so proud of you, Masaki. Grandma would be crying right now.
She's here, in this room, in this tea. She never really left.
The master's first tea was simple, but the moment carried the weight of a century. Finally at peace, the tea room sat empty, a single bowl resting in the center, as if waiting. The kettle still boiled softly, its murmur the room's only voice. Sunlight slanted through the paper screens, tracing the same paths it had for a century. Outside, the last cherry petals drifted down, a quiet parting gift of spring. A faint echo seemed to linger, the memory of a ceremony that had changed everything. The bowl held no tea now, yet it brimmed with promise. Soon the shoji would slide open again, not for one, but for many. Voices of future students already whispered in the silence, though not yet heard. The Konohara school had been a cage, then a sanctuary, and now a beginning. And the tea, like the lineage, would flow on.